Good evening and welcome to Alan's Italy. Tonight is a show that is going to be on Venice. And those of you who have been avid watchers of the show since we first started on December 16th, 2011, will probably say, wow, he's going back to Venice after not having been there for 51 shows. You know, the first show I did was on Venice, and I took you on a tour of Venice similar to what I would take somebody, if I were taking somebody on a tour of Venice, this is what the tour would have been. Tonight's show will be different. What I've done is I've tried to group the various magnificent sights of Venice into categories, and it'll be easier to describe exactly the magic that Venice has for the person who goes there. So that'll be what we'll be doing tonight. So, and the reason I haven't done Venice over the past over a year is that I'm really not an expert on Venice. I'm not an expert on anything really in terms of Italy, but Florence is certainly my second home, and I love Tuscany and Lake Como. Venice is up there, but it's certainly not something that I'm an expert, and I really didn't have enough material to really get into it. And then I started to really explore, and I've come up with this show. So that's going to be fun. And let me go now to the album, because that will begin what we're going to be doing here. Go down to there, go down here, coming up, coming down. All these various things have to be gone through, and we're all set to go. Okay, so there it is. Show number 52 is going to be, I called it Venice Scenes, rather than just Venice, because it's really going to be different scenes in Venice. And this is what I looked like during the very first few minutes of that first show that I did on December 16, 2011. So, it's the same guy, same old guy as before. Now, excuse me. Apropos to the Woodstock Library Forum that I'm doing on February 16th, let me just say that I had a library forum that I did in Kingston last Tuesday night. And I had a really nice turnout. There were about 15 people, some of whom were from Woodstock, some of whom had seen the show. They were about as wonderful an audience and as wonderful a group of people to lecture or to teach as I've ever had in my life. It was really a great group of people who asked a lot of questions, which I love, who were interested in things. I did my usual library forum presentation, which basically involves a little background, and then I go through the photos related to how the book is set up. The book is set up in terms of parts, and I go through the parts and use the video images to show the photo images. And then I threw in a couple of readings, and it was really wonderful. And the Kingston Library is interested in me coming back and doing a series of lectures. And the person with whom I spoke told me that they'd be interested in doing that probably in the summer. So I'll keep you posted on that, but it certainly seems like fun to me, and I'm going to be doing that starting then. But however, for those of you closer to Woodstock or who would like to come to a library forum, please do so. It's going to be at 5 p.m. on Saturday, February 16th at the Woodstock Library. And it'll be similar to what I've done in Kingston and in Saugerties. So I welcome you to attend that, and that should be fun. Okay, and of course, always come with questions. Actually, the people who were there looked like, some of them I know were actually planning trips to Italy, so they had a lot of questions. So that should be very interesting. And now we go on to the actual show. Now, I'm not going to spend very much time talking about the hotel. This is a picture of the hotel in Venice that I've stayed in many times over the past 11 years. the Pensione Accademia. And I'm not going to be doing too much on that, so I just wanted to tell you what I'm not doing. I also won't be talking too much about the museums. This is the Peggy Guggenheim, which is a great contemporary art museum. And this is, next one is the Corer. Let me make that larger because I took that off the internet because we don't have a really head-on picture of the Corer Museum. And the Corer Museum is a wonderful museum. It's really for exhibitions, and I won't be doing too much on that. I'm not going to do anything on that tonight. But once we get to Venice in May and June, I'm going to go back. I'm going to revisit that. And this is the famous Accademia Museum, and I'll be going back to that one as well down the road. But tonight, these are the things I'm going to be focusing on. So Venice Scenes is going to cover the bridges grouped together, the palazzi, the churches, the side canals and side streets, what to eat in Venice, and that'll be a little different from really, kind of sitting down and having a meal. They're really specialty shops that I'll be talking about. What to buy, some of the stores you could buy there, and then what it's like riding on a boat in the open seas of the Venetian lagoon, which is really an amazing experience. So we start with the bridges. And one of the, I'm really going in order of the things that I find to be the most fascinating to me. And what I find the most fascinating are the bridges. And as you could see there looking at that picture of a bridge, and in most cases, I don't remember the names of the bridges. Now, understand something. There are hundreds of bridges in Venice, and they all have a name, but I don't know the names of them, and I never really, thought much about. I think this will be the first trip to Venice after I've started doing the show. So if I were doing the show and knowing that I was doing the show, when I went around Venice, I'd certainly write down the names of the bridges. But it's very difficult when you're just going around Venice taking pictures of bridges. So in some cases, we'll talk about the bridges, and in other cases, I'll just show you the bridge, and you could see how incredibly beautiful each bridge is. They're all unique, they're all fascinating, and we're going to start with the 4 bridges that cross the Grand Canal. Now, the Grand Canal is the major thoroughfare of Venice. It's Main Street in Venice, and it starts at the Stazione, where the train, at the train station, and it goes all the way around until you get to the Piazza, almost the Piazza San Marco. Really, the end of that little peninsula in which the Church of Della Salute is located. And the first bridge that I'm going to be talking about is the newest bridge. It's called the Calatrava Bridge, which was designed. The architect was a famous architect by the name of Calatrava, as you could see, and that was built in 2007. And it's the newest bridge, and I'll show it to you in just a moment. Then the Scalzi Bridge, which as you head out of the train station and head south on the Grand Canal, that's the first bridge you come to. And then the Accademia Bridge is the next bridge you come to. No, excuse me, the Rialto Bridge is the next bridge you come to. And, the original pontoon bridge, which was created at that very location, was built in 1181. It was replaced in 1255, collapsed, rebuilt, and so on and so forth, and finally was rebuilt for the last time in the year 1591. And then the last bridge is the Accademia Bridge, which was built in 1854, replaced in 1933, and again in 1984. So those are the 4 bridges across the Grand Canal. This is the Calatrava Bridge, which goes from the train station to the Piazzale Roma. Now, the train station is where most people come in, who are traveling on trains. And the Piazzale Roma is the place where most people come into the town who are traveling by either bus or by car. Now, there's really no need to have a bridge that runs from the train station to the Piazzale Roma. Like you come in on a train, what's the likelihood that you're going to then need a bus to go someplace else or a car to go someplace else? You're in Venice, you're ready to go around. On the other hand, the opposite way might be more true. People who drive into Venice, maybe to park their cars, who live like in the surrounding area, although there are parking lots there, would then take the bridge to get to the train station to go somewhere else. But they built a bridge there. There it is. It's okay. It's a modern bridge and it's not a really beautiful bridge. That's another view of it with the Piazzale Roma's giant car parking lot in the background. So that's what it looks like. I've never been on it. This is the Scalzi Bridge, which is the bridge that goes from where the train station is located to the other side of the Grand Canal. And right there is the church of Santa Maria della Scalzi, and that's certainly the church that it's named after. There's a stunning picture of the oldest bridge in Venice, and perhaps one of the oldest bridges in the world, rebuilt a few times, as I indicated. And this is the Accademia Bridge, and that is a motorboat that's about to go underneath the bridge to get to the other side. This is a really gorgeous bridge, and everybody loves it very much. And now we are approaching the Accademia Bridge, and this is the last bridge on the Grand Canal. So if you are past this point and you want to get to the other side of the Grand Canal, you're going to have to take either a vaporetto or a traghetto. Remember, a traghetto is a little ferry. It's really a gondola that serves as a ferry, which takes you from one part of the Grand Canal to the other, one side to the other side. Okay? And that's a closer up view of the Accademia Bridge, which was very, very recently refurbished. When we were there last in 2010, it was almost completely covered. So now it's uncovered, and that's the new bridge. That was done simply to beef it up because it was in danger of falling down. Okay? Now, this is me dragging luggage up the bridge that's located right next to the Hotel Pensione Accademia. I believe it's called the San Travaso Bridge, and it's just sort of funny, and I want to play it for you. So, Ellen, this is the only one I'm going to be showing tonight, and it'll run about 2 minutes. So here we go.
The bridge to the hotel.
Hello. I'm just carrying all this luggage up these stairs.
The people.
Kathy's hotel is there.
Okay.
Okay, we're coming to the Pensione Accademia.
Got these beautiful vases.
Accademia.
There's a restaurant over there.
There's the Taverna San Travaso. That's our favorite, one of our favorite restaurants.
Oh, look, this building's under renovation too.
That's just, I don't even know why I showed that. It's just a cute picture of what it's like negotiating bridges. There are bridges all over the place, and you have heavy luggage. And, if Laura's taking the video, I'm the one dragging the luggage, and that always becomes a bit of a challenge. And that's what it looks like trying to get over those bridges. It's not easy, it's not really difficult, but if you have a lot of bridges, it becomes difficult. This is one of the most famous bridges. This is the picture of Anna and Lily when we took them to Venice with us in 2004 and part of 2005. That's a very famous bridge. That's the Bridge of Sighs, Sighs. And the Bridge of Sighs is a bridge that connected the law courts from the prison, and the prisoners who were brought from the law court, to the prison as they were crossing the bridge. I guess they sighed, and that's why they call it the Bridge of Sighs. So it's a very interesting bridge, and a lot of people spend a lot of time looking at that. And this is another example of the Accademia Bridge. So this is what it looks like going down the bridge. You see, it's a steep bridge, and if you're dragging luggage and all, as most people are, it's quite a challenge. These are some of the smaller bridges around Venice. And this is, each one I think is, really unique and special in their own way. And there's me standing on top of a bridge and, look at the ambiance and look at the beautiful windows and, the water flowing under it. And sometimes you get a gondola going under the bridge. So it's kind of like really nice to see that. Now, in the distance here, you could see another bridge. You have to look closely because just past that shrubbery over there on the right is the bridge. And, that's one of the smaller bridges because the canal itself is one of the smaller canals. And there's another bridge, and this bridge is, there's a plaque on it which probably tells you the name of the bridge, but I just can't, see it from there. But this is what, it looks like. And this is a very quiet spot. You'll notice that most of these side bridges, the bridges that traverse the side canals, are very peaceful, quiet places. And away from the thundering horde of people, this is a really, really very pleasant experience to kind of, walk around finding the bridges. There's another one, which is in an area that we like very much. I believe this is in an area where one of the restaurants that we sometimes dine at, Montine, is located. And there's also a B&B that two of our friends stay in when they're in Venice. They stay in the Locanda Montine, which is a very nice B&B, and certainly the restaurant below it is one of the nice ones. And that's the bridge in that area. There's another, that looks like the same bridge as before, but I might be wrong, I'm not sure. Okay, there's a bridge in the background. This is a picture I've shown you, and it's a picture of a gondola stop, and you can see the gondola in the water, and you can see the green umbrella with the two gondoliers sitting under the umbrella waiting for customers, and in the distance is the bridge. And this is one of my favorite sites in Venice because it's you have everything in this view, including a kind of a modern dwelling off there on the left side. You can see the modern mixed in with the 15th century palazzi and houses all along the side there. And this is a great picture as well. This is another bridge. I keep saying that, and I don't want to keep saying one of my favorites, but I love this bridge because it actually doesn't go from from a shoreline to another. You see the street on the right side? That's called a fondamenta. A fondamenta is a street that runs alongside of a canal. So you could see that, the fondamenta leads to the canal, but then when the canal gets to the other side of when the bridge gets to the other side of the canal, there's no fondamenta, it just goes right into a street that goes between two of the houses. So that's very, very interesting, I think. This is a bridge that's located in Murano. So this is the bridge. Murano doesn't have that many bridges, and to get from one side to the other sometimes can be challenging. But this is one of the bridges in Murano. It's a very pretty bridge. And now we go to the palazzi. Now there are, of course, hundreds of palazzi in Venice. And the one I'm showing you here is the Palazzo Bembo, which is actually the locale of the exhibition of the Biennale that Laura will be participating in starting on May 28th. So I use that as the introductory palazzo. But this is a very beautiful palazzo. And we're actually going to be staying, you see the top level with the small windows? That's a hotel. And we've been trying to look at that hotel and see if maybe it's a place we'd like to stay. And we will be staying there for 3 of the nights. And the level below it is where they have their events like dinners and collations of various kinds. And then the next level, which has the big windows, that's where the exhibition will actually take place. So that's a pretty amazing palazzo. Then there are a bunch of palazzi that I don't know the name of. And, they all have names, and it's, impossible to really know all of them. But I found this picture interesting because The palazzo on the right is kind of spruced up, and the one on the left is a little unspruced up, so it's a little strange looking. But this is, a really beautiful picture. And this is another palazzo that is very interesting, with the decorations on the front. The one on the right I'm referring to, the lighter one, and the more yellowish one on the left is also very interesting, very non-symmetrical. I don't know if the word is I guess it's non-symmetrical. If you look at the two palazzi, you'll see that the one on the right is a bit more symmetrical, but the windows are off to the left side. But the one next to it is really very, strangely unsymmetrical. So I found that very interesting. They all have motorboats parked outside, of course. And this is a very interesting palazzo, very symmetrical. Of course, I'm a mathematician, so that appeals to me. But again, I don't know the name of this. And, all along the Grand Canal, you have palazzi that are just, one after another. Some are hotels, some are private residences. Look at this one. This is magnificent. And this really shows you an example of Venetian architecture. And it shows you another thing at the dock level. If you could see those colorful poles, which look like barber poles, with red and white stripes, and a boat coming into the picture there. Some other ones, they're all different in their own way. And the ones with the balconies are, of course, really, quite fascinating. Look at that one. That's pretty amazing, too. This looks like, of course, a private residence. The pink one in the middle, partly pink, partly white, looks kind of like a private residence. The others, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not totally sure. I'm sure of this. This is one of the most famous palazzi in all of Venice. It's called the Ca d'Oro, which literally translates into the House of Gold. And the reason it's called that is because there is gold gilding all over the interior of this palazzo. But this is a famous one, not only because it's beautiful, but because, as you can see, there's a banner over there hanging on the right side. That's a banner which indicates that there is an exhibition taking place. The Ca d'Oro is a venue for very, very well-known exhibitions that occur in Venice. So that's one of the most touristy of all of them. And there's some other very, very interesting views of palazzi. I like this one a lot, the one on the right, because it's kind of a mixture of you can see the shrub, the greenery mixed in with the awnings and the beautiful windows. They're all unique and they're all fascinating. Look at this one. Has that nice balcony there with the awning above it. So obviously they're ready for the sun, which may shine onto that balcony, which may harm their ability to kind of sit out there. But this is a very beautiful palazzo as well. And this is not a palazzo per se, but it is the hotel Villa Pensione Accademia. And the name of the original name of this villa is the Villa Maravegge, which was the Russian embassy before World War II. So I threw that in because it was kind of another palazzo in a way. And there's a couple of others, all unique, as you could see some construction taking place up there on the top. And you can't get enough of these. There's that beautiful painting right on the front of that one. That is very interesting. The one in the middle with the two boats, moored up to the dock there. So this is what you get when you ride along the Grand Canal. You get these really extraordinary images of what the palazzi look like. And you can see that there's another palazzo which is having an exhibition. That's the exhibition for a famous artist named Bruce Nauman. And, he's very prominent in Venice. Gets a lot of gigs there. And look at the windows are just amazing. And the way they're spaced, they're not, they're symmetrical in their own way, but you have that grouping of four windows on top, and then two on either side, and then a little further off, you have that one window on either side. So that's really, really interesting. Look at this one. This I know of as a restaurant, and you could see that the umbrellas right there on the patio kind of indicate that it's a restaurant. Okay, so now we go to the churches. And the churches in Venice are fascinating, very different, and interesting to see. And again, I don't know the names of all the churches. I know the names of the ones that I like the best, and those are the ones that I'll be talking about. But in general, I know this piazza very well. And if you say to me, if you arrived at my hotel in Venice and you said, I want to go to that piazza, I could take you there in about 15 minutes because I know exactly where it's located. But I do not know the name of the piazza or the church, where the piazza gets its name from. But this, of course, is, and I've said this before, so I'm not just throwing around the word favorite again, but this is my favorite church in Venice. This is called the Church of Santa Maria della Salute, and it was built by the people in the 16th century as a gift to God because there was a terrible plague in the city of Venice at that time, and they prayed to God to get rid of the plague. And when the plague was gone, they built this church in honor of it. I like it because the story is very charming, but also because it's shaped as an octagon. But when you look at it head on, it gives a very round kind of a look, and certainly the dome on top gives a look of it being round. And when you go in that massive front door in the front, the inside of the church is really beautiful. I don't have pictures of the inside right now, but I like this very much. And there's a Vaporetto stop over there on the right. So if you happen to be traveling on the Grand Canal and you feel like stopping by, you don't have to go somewhere else and then walk to it. You could just get off, and there it is. This, of course, is everybody's favorite because this is the very famous Piazza San Marco, and it is the only piazza in Venice. Every other, large open public space is called a campo, C-A-M-P-O, or a piazzetta, which is kind of a small piazza. But this is the only piazza in Venice. It's the Piazza San Marco. Prominent in it is the Campanile, which is the bell tower over there on the right side. But the church is what gives the piazza its name. And indeed, this is an absolutely magnificent church. And I think you could see that it has an Eastern influence, and it is just, it's spectacular. There's no other way of describing it. And, this is a place that I try to get to as much as possible when I'm in Venice. There's some detail of the top of the church. So it's not just, if you really look closely, you could see why this church is so magnificent. And that's, one of the reasons, looking at the top. And this is a view of the church looking at it from the side. In other words, let me go back here. If you took a right turn right between the Campanile and the church, you would find yourself in this spot, which is the view from, kind of looking at it from the canal, from the Grand Canal. And the side view is just as spectacular as the front view. And this is what it looks like inside. I have a few pictures of the inside because, there's no inside of a church in Venice that comes even close to being as stunning as this one is. So that's really beautiful. And you could see another view of it over there. I showed these on that first show, and of course I'm showing them again because it's so magnificent. Okay, and these are some other churches. There's, I found this interesting because this is like a pretty, you go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Not completely ridiculous because it is a church and you can't, you can't say anything really bad about it. And in its own way, it's very interesting. There's a bridge across there, which does not look like an old bridge. It looks like a modern bridge, and the church is right behind it. That's a better view of the church without the bridge in front of it. And you could see that, it's interesting in its own way, very out of the way. There's not a single tourist there. And this could be just a local parish church. There's a church. Now, it's hard to see the church because there's kind of a little palazzo in the front there. But if you look to the left, that's where the church is located. And we took this picture from the Grand Canal, looking straight at it. And you could see the big campanile right behind it there. And there's a museum over there on the left, which could be the Palazzo Grassi. I'm not totally sure. I'm going to say that to qualify it. But the Palazzo Grassi is a scene of exhibitions, and as you can see, there's a banner over there on the side of the building, which shows that there is an exhibition going on. This is a very famous church, and one of the ones that I happen to know the name of. This is the Church of San Giorgio Maggiore, which is very prominent. I use this on my introductory montage of pictures because it's so evocative of what Venice really looks like, and it's right out there, on its own little peninsula on the Grand Canal. And as you come down the Grand Canal, headed towards the Piazza San Marco on the left side, you turn to the right, and this is what you see. This is a church that I know where they're located, but I don't know the names. This is a church in which is currently being used for opera performances. And you can see that there's a little activity in there in the front. That's where they sell their tickets to the opera. They advertise it. And there are operas all over the city of Venice at various times. And this is one of the locations where it is. If you wanted to go to this, you'd cross the Accademia Bridge from where our hotel is located, and then walk about, a few hundred feet. And on the left side is this church where the people dressed up in costume are kind of hawking tickets. This is a very famous church. This is the church of the Frari, F-R-A-R-I, with its campanile over there on the left side. It is one of the famous churches in all of Venice. And one of the reasons it's one of the famous churches, there's another view of it from the side, is that there are two famous monuments or pictures, paintings in there. One of them is this, which is, there was a famous sculptor who did a lot of his sculpting in, and I think he was also a sculptor and an architect, I believe, mostly. And this is his tomb, Canova. And this is a very strange place to have, a tomb that's so elaborate like this. This is very odd. And there's one other church where I saw a triangular shaped tomb, and I don't recall the location. I'll have to look through my notes because my teacher at Bard covered this. But this is Canova's tomb right in the Church of the Frari. So this is a little kind of weird. You walk in and you're drawn to the high altar, and I'll show you why in a moment. And then off on the right side is this, monumental kind of tomb to Canova. So that's where he's buried. And that's really why people come into this church, is to see this painting on the high altar by the very famous Venetian painter Titian. And it's a beautiful, beautiful painting, and people go right up there, and you can see that there's places to sit in the pews, and you could get a really great view of what this very wonderful painting looks like. And here are some other churches. Again, I'm not sure about where. I'm not even sure where this is located, honestly. But this is a very pretty church. And this is a church that is along the Grand Canal. But again, I don't remember the name of it. This is a church located in Murano. So when you arrive in Murano, this dominates this whole area, and there's actually a cemetery right next to it, which is fascinating. There are two cemeteries in Murano that I go to a lot that have tombstones going back, very, very far to the 17th and 16th centuries. And this is a beautiful church, as you could see. It's more, to me, it looks more like a monastery than a church, but it's, probably a combination of both. And it's very, very beautiful. This is another church in Venice. I think this is another location that has operas, so you could, go to see an opera in one of those. Yet another one. And again, I know where this is located. And this is a church that I've been to once, and we do not have a digital photograph of it, so I had to take this off the internet. This is the church that appears in, there are three islands that people go to off the coast of Venice. One is called Murano, one is called Burano, that's where the colored buildings are located, and the third island is Torcello, and Torcello is known for this church, which is from the, I believe it's from the 8th century, and it's a beautiful church. Here's another view of it, head on to look at it. And it's just a beautiful, it's just a beautiful church. And, people come for the church mostly because there's not much else on this island, and it's very quiet. This is a place to go if you really want no tourists whatsoever, because it's really out of the way, and it's not that commercial, and there's only one restaurant. So most people stay away from this, but if you want to come to this island, Torcello, you get this extraordinary, relaxing day, and there's another view of it. It's a beautiful church. Inside, it's really quite spectacular. And now the side canals. And again, I know where the side canals that I'm going to be showing you are located, but I don't, they all have names. Like, for example, I know the name of this canal. This is the Rio San Travaso. All the canals in Venice are known as Rio, R-I-O, and this is the Rio San Travaso. And on the left is where our hotel is located as you walk down that fondamenta. And on the fondamenta on the right side is the famous Taverna San Travaso, which is a restaurant that we go to very often. And this is, of course, the Grand Canal, which is not a side canal, but a lot of the side canals come off of the Grand Canal. You could see some of them if you look very, very closely. But most of the canals that I'm going to be showing you now are off the Grand Canal. Another view of the Grand Canal. The mother of all canals in Venice. And then off the side of the Grand Canal, you have these side canals, and you get a lot of motorboats going up and down these side canals because they lead to all of the hotels, and they're also fast ways of traveling around the city because you're not going on the crowded Grand Canal, you're going down one of these side canals. This is a side canal that leads to the Grand Canal. I think we're on that motorboat on the back of it taking this picture. And this motorboat driver has to go very, very slowly at this point because he's about to enter the major canal in Venice, and you have to be very careful, of course, because there could be any number of traffic on that. This is a tour. Whenever you see a grouping of three gondolas together, it usually means that this is a tour taking place. So that's a tour where all those people are, being gondoled around Venice. I don't know if that's even a verb, to gondola somebody. And that's another beautiful. This is the Rio San Travaso. This is, and on the right side is our hotel room with the green shutters, and that's where we took the picture. Laura took the picture from one of those windows, and on the left side is the fondamenta that will, when you cross that bridge. In other words, if we want to go back to where the Vaporettos are, we go straight ahead to the bridge, go over the bridge, and get to that side street on the right there, on the left there, and that'll take you back to the Vaporero. So this is a pretty active side canal. That's another view of that same side canal, but looking in the opposite direction. And there's another canal that leads into that all the way over there on the extreme left-hand side is the Ria Toleta, and both of these canals combine and lead right into the Grand Canal. Yet another view. I gave you a large number. That's another view of the bridge, and another one. I don't know what's going on here. I guess I forgot to edit to the extent that I usually do. This is another side canal, and you could see that they're very peaceful and quiet. Some of them have fondamenta on the side, and some don't. Some are simply residential, quote unquote, side canals. And there's a bridge down there at the end. You can see that there's also a church steeple a little further down this canal. So it might not even be possible to walk along this side canal. This is maybe just a residential kind of street. There's that same side canal that I showed you earlier with the bridge in the background, and that's where the gondola stop is located. And it's a very nice gondola stop to get onto. You could see the stairs on the extreme lower right-hand side, so it's very easy to get onto that gondola. This is a side canal in Burano. You know it's Burano because it has the colored houses. The red and the blue and the orange and white houses tell you that this is indeed Burano. So even if you don't quite recognize the canal, you certainly recognize the location of this canal. And you could see that these are very, very devoid of tourists, and people even hang out their laundry. This has a small fondamenta on the left side, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get a side canal with a fondamenta that leads at the very end of that street over there on the left side. There's like an opening between the two buildings, and that takes you, you hang a left turn, and that'll take you back to other venues in Venice. But this is another view of the side canal. That's that same one with the gondolas. I just love this side canal, obviously. And there's another view of another side canal with a nice bridge over it. And you can see these are really charming places to visit and to just kind of hang out. Not sure where this is located. In that similar area, we probably took a lot in that area. And there's a side canal taken from the Grand Canal. So, the Grand Canal is the one in the foreground, and the side canal, which seems very wide, is over there going off in the distance. Another one. This is in Murano. Another one in Murano. And now the side streets. And these are this is a favorite thing to do in Venice, is to just walk the streets. And you could go anywhere in Venice without taking a boat. Now, I'm thinking about that because I'm not sure you can get to the Lido, which is the beach, without taking a boat. But on the main part of Venice, you do not have to take any bridges. Well, you may have to take bridges, but you certainly don't have to take a vaporetto. You could get anywhere you want by just simply walking the streets. And this is what it looks like walking, down some of those side streets. Very, very interesting. And of course, very, very narrow. This is actually a fondamenta right along the side of a canal. Sometimes you have to drag your luggage down these streets, and it's hard sometimes if there's people coming in the opposite direction. This is me. That's me in the foreground, and then right in front of me with the green bag is our friend David, and then to David's left is Laura. And I believe that this picture was taken by Randy on that same trip. This is not really a side street. This is more of a campo. And the side streets kind of go off of that. I just wanted to show you again what a fundamental looks like, counting that as a side street. But, you know, this is what it's like, just kind of walking around Venice away from the tourists. Very interesting. Narrow streets. Notice the wires, you know. This is all probably 15th and 16th century architecture, but the wires kind of tell you that, you know, these are modern dwellings. This is a very wide street. Actually, I think it's another fundamental which runs alongside the Grand Canal. Look at this street. Wow. You know, and sometimes they have stores along the side, as you can see there. This is a side street that is really devoted to business. That's Randy there in the front with David right behind her. But you can see that there's stores all along the side, and that's what you get sometimes. There's another example of that. This is right near our hotel. Okay, now you're in Venice and you want to do some eating. And this is not restaurant eating. I'm going to save that for a future show. This is kind of snacking and going into specialty stores. And certainly my favorite specialty store is a gelateria, where you can get unbelievably delicious tasting ice cream. And it's presented in such an unbelievable presentable way that it's almost impossible not to avail yourself of some of these delicious flavors. And they do that purposely. And then you get all kinds of other types of food. You know, some licorice there, beautifully presented, surrounded by other beautiful pastries. Quite irresistible, wandering around the streets of Venice. Okay, now, you know, you want to bring home some souvenirs, and one of the best things you could buy is Venetian glass. And this is an example of Venetian glass. Quite beautiful, and most of the Venetian glass is made in Murano. It's very beautiful, as you could see. The colors are spectacular. And sometimes the glass is right next to other things. There is a necklace on the right side, which is also Venetian glass that was probably made in Murano. This is a beautiful. This, of course, you can't buy because this is an exhibition right outside on a piazza in Murano. These are the guys that do it. These are the masters of glass blowing that you could see doing their work close up in Venice itself, in Murano. And they let you come right up to it, and they give you a really marvelous demonstration of what it's like blowing glass. And then, of course, they expect you to buy something in their showroom, but those are very, very expensive. This is I have no idea what this is, to be perfectly honest with you. It's some kind of a store. Maybe it sells mannequins, or maybe the mannequins are usually dressed in something. And you get various fashions in Venice, and very high-end fashions, as you could see. Jewelry with, you know, using Venetian glass. Close up, beautiful jewelry. Oh, and Laura, you know, I just remembered. Laura always goes through these with me, and she tells me what to kind of, you know, denote here. And what I'd like to denote to you is that those are the caps from soda cans. You know, when you kind of open the can, those are the, you know, this person took all of those those tops that you peel off the top of the can and put them together, and that's what you're seeing there. You're seeing a an accessory there, a pocketbook that is strictly those tops from the cans. Of course, you could buy floral arrangements, and this is also in the introductory montage. These are masks and various other accoutrements that you would use during the Carnivale, which takes place in February in Venice. And the masks are really beautiful. And I think the idea of the mask is you're supposed to go to these, these balls, and you're supposed to not be recognized, and you're supposed to wear one of these masks. And the final part now we're going to talk about are the open seas. And one of the really enjoyable experiences is getting on either a motorboat or a vaporetto and traveling around the Venetian lagoon. And these are what it looks like on the open seas. This is not a canal, it's not a side canal, it's not the Grand Canal. This is what it looks like going from one island to another on a motorboat. I think we're on a motorboat here. And this is what it's like in the Venetian lagoon, headed out to one of the islands. And it's quite beautiful. That's Murano, headed towards Murano. This is looking back towards Venice. Again, looking back towards Venice. And now you're in the open seas. There's something very nice about being out there. It's kind of quiet. I mean, you do hear the sounds of the motorboat. There's Laura and I on the back of a motorboat. We're not usually this bold, but it was, the driver. We asked the driver of the taxi to take a picture of us. So that's what that looks like. And more pictures of what it's like being on the open seas. And look at this picture I love because the cloud formation. It almost looks like mountains in the background, but it's really clouds. And the incredible color of the sea. And that brings us to the end of the show. And my next show next week, I'm going to Umbria. Now, the only time we ever went to Umbria together occurred when I did the show on Orvieto. I think I did a double show on Orvieto. And Orvieto is, of course, an Umbrian town, but there are many, many other Umbrian towns like Perugia, Todi, Spello, Assisi, Spoleto, and we're going to be doing that next week. So please tune in. It'll be a pleasure to show you that. For tonight, however, I'd like to say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the show, and buona notte e buona fortuna.